This is our direct heat chicken video, and it all starts with these beautiful chickens raised locally in Driftwood, Texas at Westfold Farm. We're going to put them in a brine that combines a couple of our pickle juices that we already make in-house. Now, we have gone through a few different brines on this recipe, and what we ended up with was two things that we already make, which you just saw: our dill pickle juice go into a brine and some of our jalapeno pickle juice go into a brine. And we're going to add a little bit more salt and turmeric for color and to just bump up the salinity to a nice 5%. I'm just going to whisk that stuff to combine, and we're going to take out the backbones to our chickens, and we're just going to drop them in there for a couple days, about 48 hours. We like to spatchcock our chickens before we split them for half birds, because that extra backbone, if you just split them and keep the backbone included, then I think it makes it a little bit more difficult to eat and kind of piece apart. So Matthew is kind of demonstrating right now on the back of the chicken where the hip joints are and where we're going to cut with our poultry shears. Poultry shears are one of the best tools in the kitchen. You saw him just remove the wingtips with ease, and then now we're just going to remove the backbone with just as much ease. We just kind of go through the ribs and that hip joint where we demonstrated just a second ago where it was. He goes down on one side. He's going to go all the way down on the other side and completely remove the backbone. And what we can do is save that for a stock, make a nice little glaze with it, or we can just put it into our pork stock and just kind of reinforce that and just make that even richer and just a little extra chickeny. So now with the backbone removed, he's going to kind of flip it over and press down on the breasts a little bit to kind of open it up and flatten it down a little. If it's kind of rounded and sitting not completely flat when we try to split it, we might not split it completely in half. But with the bone just kind of barely split, just a quick tap of the knife and a stroke makes the nice little half chicken presentations there. With the chickens nicely split in half, all there's left to do is drop them into the brine where they'll sit for the next about 2 days. And here they are after 2 days. Time to come out of the brine. At this point, we are going to lay them out on a roasting rack over a sheet tray, and we're going to store them in the refrigerator at least overnight, probably a little bit longer than that. What we really want to do is dry out the skin and form what is called a pellicle, which is going to help the smoke adhere to the skin and kind of help browning and kind of help it get smokier. The next day we join Pat out at the smoker where we're going to put our chickens on. The fire is already lit, Rusty is already full. These birds should mostly be pretty dry from being overnight uncovered in the walk-in, but we did transport them in some plastic, so we're just going to go over them again one more time with a paper towel just to make sure they are nice and dry. We're not going to add any slather or anything to them to get the pepper to stick. There is enough moisture on the bird, on the skin, to get all of the seasoning to stick. And the seasoning, we're just going to use the exact same seasoning we use with everything else. We're going to season these birds just with a little bit of Dalmatian. Now remember, these were in a brine, so we're not really looking for a ton of salt seasoning on the skin. What we are looking for is some really visuals with the pepper on the skin, making sure that it's not just kind of plain, like blank looking skin. The pepper is going to add a little bit of texture to the skin as well. We are going to start cooking these chickens bone side down on the direct pit. The idea is kind of to treat it like a hog. We start the hog bone side down. We use the bones to protect the meat, cook it most of the way through, and then flip it to crisp the skin. But we need enough time on the skin side to get it nice and brown. This is where we played around with this recipe a lot. So obviously we're taking coals from the firebox of Rusty underneath the chud box. We do this all the time with the pig, with the pork steaks, with everything else we've done on here, same with the chicken. But we are going to go about 30 minutes on the bone side before we flip to the skin side, and then that's about an hour and a half on the skin side. And you can see the color we get from going so long on the skin side. That is just beautiful golden brown and delicious. What we want to do is set the proteins enough to where when we turn it over on the skin side, then it is not putting an imprint of the grate into the chicken on the skin and on the breast. Now this may seem a little high for chicken, those internal temps of almost 200, but what we're looking for is for them to pull apart easily. Not the meat specifically pull apart, because it's not above 212 and it's not just completely boiled the water inside the bird, but pull apart so that we can break them down on the carving block. Now I'm wrapping them up in some foil. Now you may be kind of curious, saying, why are you doing that? You've already got crispy skin. What we have discovered is that we'd rather have some juicy and tender meat rather than crispy skin. Now, if we were able to serve the chickens right away and serve them and cook them and serve them to order, then we would go for crispy skin, but we can't do that. We have to hold them in the warmer because we do barbecue. We have to cook them before, and they have to be ready and still the same delicious a few hours later. So we put them in the foil, and then when we serve them, we break them out like this, we tear them apart, and they're just delicious. The skin is bite through, and it's really tasty. We saw Bromley cut the backbone out of the chicken. We saw them go into the brine. We saw them come out of the brine, seasoned, smoked. Just gonna make a little cut so I can separate them. They go right through the breast. Gonna make sure that go through the bones, and then just drag the knife to cut it. Well, it didn't separate how I wanted, but that's fine. And then make sure we find the joint here, and just cut right through that there. Pickles, jalapenos, baby.
I'm gonna eat this. What the? Why are you taking my piece, man? I thought we had an arrangement.
That one, this is really good.
What's give me a score out of 10.
On this?
Yeah.
9.5. 9.5.
Let's see.
Jose?
So this is. The meat is like a cloud, and the skin is like a mountaintop covering my tongue.
Yeah.
It's, I would say, 9.
9?
No.
Tom, get in there. Get a piece. Do you mind being on camera?
Not at all. Been on camera my whole life.
Is it good?
The flavor's awesome.
Is it juicy?
Oh yeah.
You guys are so nice, you left me the thigh.